Hey, what's going on? My name's Vit, and in this video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. With Dawntrail just a week away now, I didn't really want to get into such an involved video, so I figured we would just do something a little fun today. And that is looking at all of my favorite weapons in this game. There's a whole bunch, obviously just for fashion reasons, but I've picked out a few of my favorite weapons on every single job in the game, and in this video I'm just going to try to show those off. This is kind of something that I wish I had when I was new to the game, just to get an idea of what's out there, really, because the game doesn't do a great job of letting you look at all this stuff, so I figured we'd round up some of them. Again, there's so much stuff in this game, there's no shot that I'm going to get everything. There's obviously more out there that I'm not showing in this video. I'm basically just going to be going through my glamour dresser here and showing off some of my favorites that I have, that I've collected over the years. Again, there's way more that I don't have, I might not even know about, but we're going to go through, I think I have like 4 or 5 for every single job in the game. So let's just jump right to it and start going through these in the order that they're in here. Alright, so right off the bat we got Paladin, and this is the Heavensward relic, the aettir lux. Now, unsheathed it looks pretty simple, nice and straightforward, or sheathed it looks simple. When you unsheath it, it's, you know, nice and fiery, big classic flaming sword and shield. This is fairly straightforward to get these days. Again, it's just, you gotta do those Heavensward relic quests, and I don't know, it's possibly one of my favorite weapons in the game. Probably my favorite Paladin weapon to this day. You can get a blue version as well, which is the previous step in the relic quests. So you can either have the blue or the orange fire. And yeah, just a very solid sword and shield. This next sword and shield is from P12S, the most recent Savage raid in Endwalker, and these are just loot from clearing that fight. This is the Ascension sword and shield. These have some really nice sparkly crystal particle effects going on around the crystals. This is actually dyed as well. I believe these are more of like a standard blue color, but I dyed mine black. And again, just a solid sword and shield. This one's a bit more ornamental and, you know, a bit of an interesting shape to the shield as well, but another solid one. It's one of the more difficult ones to get right now, but hopefully in Dawntrail those Endwalker Savage raids will be just a bit easier if you're trying to farm out some of these old weapons. Now this one's actually a mismatched set. That's the neat thing with Paladin. You can choose different swords and shields separately. So this is the Komainu shield from PvP. I believe this is just a level 1 Glam piece that you can buy from the PvP vendor down at Wolfsden. It's pretty neat. I dyed mine all black. And then this is the deepshadow sword, which used to be a tome item, but now I believe you have to buy it with hunt currency, sacks of nuts in Shadowbringers. I think you can get it in eulmore. This entire line of weapons is just nice and edgy. The deepshadow stuff is pretty cool. And I think they go together well enough if you're going for like a dark paladin, dark fantasy look, I guess. The shield's a bit more Eastern, but, you know, I'm sure you can make it work together or even separately. Okay, and last but not least for Paladin, we have the Nabaath sword and shield. These are just from Malka's Well, level 77 dungeon, and they're just a nice, simple sword and shield. They have this really cool blue steel finish on them. It's even like a little bit rusty almost, but I don't know. A nice simple sword and shield really does it for me. And this dungeon just has a whole bunch of really cool weapons for all the different jobs, in my opinion. Alright, moving along to Warrior, the first weapon we're going to look at is the rubellux battleaxe. This is a crafted extreme weapon from the level 80 Shadowbringers trial, and you can just buy this one on the market board if you've got the gil, or you can run the extreme and try to get lucky and win the rare drop to craft it yourself. But the glow on these weapons is awesome. The shape might not be to everybody's taste, but I don't know, I think the Warrior one in particular looks really awesome. the glow is super unique, and I don't know, it's got that like red laser beam going through it. So one of my favorites for sure. Okay, this next axe is the Voidcast Labrys. This is from Endwalker Extreme number 6, just a drop from that trial, and you know, it's simple, it's clean, it's massive, pretty much everything you want in a nice looking warrior axe. This is one of my favorites. It's one of the more simple ones, but it's got this like dark look to it. Yeah, I don't know, if you know that fight, it's pretty fitting for the themes, and I just love this one. Alright, I definitely have a couple of weird picks throughout this list, and this might be one of them. This is the Cryptlurker's battleaxe, I believe it's called. The Cryptlurker's war axe. And this is just a level 80 tome piece, and a lot of these are maybe not the most flashy, but there's something about this one that it's just a big hunk of metal on a stick. It really fits the warrior vibe for me, and it's super easy to get, super easy to come by. I get that this is maybe not everybody's style, but for me, it just fits the warrior vibe really well. And some of these Cryptlurker weapons still just really hold up for me, for some reason. Okay, this last axe is called the Wrathgrinder. This is a level 90 tome piece. When you unsheath it, it kind of spins. It's got this like cool saw blade effect on it. And again, this is a level 90 tome piece. These are about to become even more accessible with Dawntrail. These will just be regular poetics. You can go and buy them. And I don't know, it's just a really unique weapon design overall. You can even do Criterion Savage, Alo Alo Island Savage, to get a material to upgrade this one, which makes it shiny and like a rotating saw effect around the blade, if you feel so inclined. I don't have that myself, so I'm just stuck with the base version for now, but I don't know. It's still a really cool looking axe. Alright, now we're at Dark Knight, and this is where I may start to show my bias a little bit with maybe an extra couple weapons, but here we've got the Abyssos guillotine, and this is one of my favorite weapons in this game of all time. Maybe I'm showing a pattern of liking flaming fiery weapons for tanks, but this is from P8S, Pandemonium Savage. And it's kind of tough to get, so I think it's always going to be kind of tough to get, but if there's a fight to grind out, I think that this one is worth it, because you'll see a few more weapons from this fight in my list here, and this is just one of my favorites of all time. Really awesome Dark Knight sword. This next Dark Knight sword is from Mount Gulg, level 79 dungeon. It is the Greatsword of the Forgiven, I think. Yeah, that's what it's called. And this one just has a really unique design to it, in my opinion. It's got this golden shine to it, really interesting cutouts in the middle. It's just really flashy, and I don't know, you don't really see many weapons that look like this one. So another just really awesome greatsword. There's so many of them in this game, but this is another favorite. Okay, another really cool Dark Knight sword is this, the Ravel Keeper's Guillotine. This is from Qitana Ravel, a level 75 dungeon, and this is just a giant piece of metal. This is a great sword through and through. Really cool one. Again, just another dungeon drop. Shadowbringers had some real winners when it came to just big greatswords and dungeon weapon glams, I guess. Yeah, another favorite for sure. I used this a lot when I was leveling, and I should go back to it sometime, because there aren't too many like this one. Okay, this next one's really interesting. This is the Odenta Kai. This is a Dark Knight sword, although it looks more like a samurai sword, but maybe about 3 times the size of your normal samurai sword. This thing is absolutely massive, and it's one of the only weapons in this game that makes you feel like you're playing an entirely different job based on just the weapon type that you're using. Normally you're going from a big greatsword to this more samurai-looking sword. Really cool weapon. Super easy to get. It's just a bunch of tomes over in Rhalgars Reach. I believe it's a level 70 tome weapon that you can just go pick up. And it's just really unique. I don't know. I love this thing. I used it for a while. And, you know, totally different vibe than most Dark Knight swords. Okay, now we've got the Baldur blade. This is just a very simple level 60 Dark Knight sword. I believe it's from Neverreap or the Fractal Continuum dungeons. Straightforward, it's just super clean. It looks very knightly, like something maybe Thornton would use. But yeah, it's super awesome early weapon. I feel like this one gets slept on a lot. You just got to farm it out from a dungeon, but really not hard to get, and honestly still looks amazing for being like a Heaven's Word weapon. Alright, and last but not least for Dark Knight, this is the Ultimate Nothung. This is a weapon from T, the Epic of Alexander Ultimate, and I'm gonna try not to put too many ultimate weapons in here, but they're gonna get honorable mentions here and there. Maybe it's recency bias. I just recently cleared this fight and got this myself, but I've been loving it. The glow is just beautiful, and I don't know, the shape of this sword's really unique. So, clearing ultimates for Glam, that's the true end game in Final Fantasy XIV. Alright, Gunbreaker time. Right off the bat, we got my favorite Gunbreaker weapon in the game. This is the Tropaios Bayonet, and this is just a PvP weapon. You can go pick this up from the vendor at the Wolf's Den. I have mine dyed all black, but yeah, I don't know. This weapon is really cool. I love that glowing edge on it. Even a bunch of the ultimate weapons don't surpass this one for me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just this Glam that I've been using, but I love Gunbreaker. I love this weapon, and it's going to be really hard to beat this one for me. I think this one's going to be really fitting going into the new Dawntrail raids as well with the aesthetic. Next up, we've got the Windswept Gunblade. This is from Endwalker Extreme number 4, and a lot of people don't really love these weapons, but I think they have a really distinct look to them. They're very naturey, leafy, green, and, you know, it's a very unique looking weapon, so I get why people might not like them, but the Gunbreaker one specifically looks super elegant, and I think it's the type of weapon where you'd really have to build an entire look around this based on it. Lean into that naturey vibe, but if you did, I don't know, it's just a really cool gunblade, very unique, and it could work really well. Here we have the Lunar Envoy's Gunblade. This thing's really cool. First of all, it's massive. This gunblade is like most of the height of my character, and I am a max height Viera. But I just love the shape and the colors on this thing, the gold finish with that silver edge, the semi-transparent bluish green bit near the tip. If you see from this side with like the backlight, you can kind of see through it a little bit, the way the light shines through, at least. But yeah, this is a really cool weapon. These Lunar Envoy weapons are just level 90 tome items that you can go pick up in Radz Han. Super easy, very accessible. And I don't know, one of the more stylish gunblades, in my opinion. Okay, here's the last gunblade I wanted to show. This is the Palika Gunblade, level 85 from Vanispati. Again, just a dungeon drop. This one's really unique. It doesn't work at all with this outfit that I have on at the moment, but still really cool. Wanted to show it off. It looks more like a musket with a bayonet on the front. It's super ornate. Just a really interesting gunblade that doesn't look like many others. And yeah, if you're going for that, you know, pirate musketeer look in Dawntrail, this could be a really unique option for that type of glam, New World adventuring. Alright, next up we've got Dragoon, and this is the Abyssos Partisan from P8S, another Savage Raid in Endwalker at the end of Abyssos. Basically just clear that fight and win the loot, and you'll get this lance. Level 90 raid, and this thing's super cool. I love this purple glow. It stands out from anything else in this game. This thing is about twice the height of my character, and it's massive. So, I don't know, just a really clean look when you have it sheathed. It looks kind of simple, but really clean. It stands well above your head, and obviously that purple glow is really just what sets it apart. Might not work with every single glam out there, but for a more armored, heavy look on your dragoon, I think this one's really cool. Okay, here we've got the Palika. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Some of these weapons have some crazy names that I've never even heard of. But this is from level 85 Vanaspati, the Endwalker dungeon. And I just think this one has a really interesting look to it. Again, it's very ornamental and, you know, it's a very different look, more of a halberd compared to many of the other dragoon lances. I really like that green wrapping that's on there, and just the colors of it fits this glam that I've got going on at the moment. I think it looks really good. And again, just a simple dungeon drop that you can get at level 85. Alright, and if you enjoy your dragoons to be a bit more on the spiky side, this is probably the lance for you. This is the augmented deepshadow lance. Again, same as with the Paladin weapon, this can just be bought in eulmore for sacks of nuts with the hunt currency. Super easy to get. This thing's really cool. Again, works for more of a heavy armored type dragoon glam. Looks very edgy as well, but I think it's a really unique look that many of the other weapons don't give you. Okay, here's one for the sprouts out there. This is a level 38 weapon. I don't know what it is about this thing, but I actually just really like it. It's the Crier's Halberd from Cutter's Cry. Again, a level 38 dungeon, and I don't know, it just fits. It really works with this glam. I was running this for a while. I have a bunch of ultimate weapons, and sometimes I just like using a level 38 dungeon drop. So, this is one of my favorites. Okay, I promise this is the only pay-to-win weapon in this list. This thing's like $3 on the Mog station, but it's Fang's Lance, the Bladed Lance from FF13. That's probably my favorite Final Fantasy game, and I got this thing when I was leveling, since you can use this at level 1, back when I first started the game, and I don't know, I just still love it to this day. It's such an iconic design from one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, so... Unfortunately, you got to pay $3 real-world US dollars for it, but I think it was worth it, in my opinion. Alright, and the final one for Dragoon, I got to give a shout out to this. It's the Gulg Ultima from Ultima Weapon Ultimate. UWU for short. So, I don't know. This is kind of the weapon that got me into raiding. I saw this when I started the game and just knew that I had to have it at some point. It's kind of hard to see it in this lighting, actually, but it's got a really cool glow effect. This lance is such an iconic design, and I don't know. This was one of those weapons that just made me jump into raiding, so I figured I'd throw it in here. Dragoon main here. And there's some clear favoritism when it comes to this lance. Alright, after Dragoon, we've got Reaper, and I'm just going to throw this one in here for good measure. This is the top Reaper weapon, and I know I said I wouldn't do too many ultimate weapons, but Reaper's a fairly new job still, and honestly, it doesn't have that many cool weapons, in my opinion. This one's incredible, so I'm going to throw it in here for obvious reasons, but yeah, I don't know. Reaper's only got a handful of good weapons, and this one is by far my favorite. Here's another pretty cool Reaper weapon. It's the Avatar's Scythe, the most recent level 90 tome weapon for Reaper. And it's cool. It's got that very traditional Reaper look, very edgy, very dark. Again, this is a weapon that can be upgraded with a material from Criterion Savage, so it will glow if you get that. It's hard to get, but this base version, super simple. Just go to the vendor, especially in Dawntrail. You'll be able to buy it with Poetics. Here's another pretty unique Reaper weapon, the Ravel Keeper's Sickle from Qitana Ravel, level 75 dungeon. I don't know. It's kind of strange. It's got that weird loop on it where the blade meets the handle, but I don't know. It's pretty cool looking. Very unique compared to many of the other Reaper weapons, and kind of works with this glam too. I like the orange accent on there, and Yeah, I don't know. Looks more along the lines of like a fancy high-tech farming tool, but I don't know. It's a good change of pace from the darkness and the edge of many other Reaper weapons. Here's another Reaper weapon that's a bit of an odd choice. This is the High Durium War Scythe, and this is literally just a vendor item. When you're going through MSQ, you hit level 82, you can buy this thing off a vendor for a couple gil. It's really not bad. And when I say there's really not that many Reaper weapons, I'm not kidding. There's not a lot. Again, this job only came out in Endwalker, so I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here, but I really do like this thing. It's got a really interesting look, and again, it's nice to see some Reaper weapons that are a little less on the edgy side. Alright, moving on to Monk. Monk has a ton of really interesting weapons. For me personally, I really like a lot of the fist and glove-based weapons. They have a bunch of really big, bulky, knuckle-type weapons as well, but I'm not a huge fan of those. These are, again, the most recent level 90 tome weapons. These are the augmented Dragon's Beard Fists, and they're really interesting. They've got these like dragon tails that go up your arms, and when you unsheath them, they get these like kind of fiery spiked knuckles on them. Again, this is a weapon that can be upgraded with a material from the Criterion Savage dungeon, and when you do, they actually breathe flames out of the dragon's mouth. These things are really cool. I have mine dyed black. Again, just something you'll be able to buy with Poetics in Dawntrail. Okay, this next monk weapon is the Makai Fists. These are really awesome. They're just some gloves, and when you unsheath them, you get that flaming character that shows up on them, and I believe these are level 60 weapons, but you can go pick them up from PvP at any point. And they're just a simple, clean look for Monk, and you really can't go wrong. I don't know, I love these things. I used these basically the entire time I was leveling. And I may end up going back to them because they're just really clean looking. Alright, this next monk weapon is possibly one of my favorites. This is the Moonward Bladed Tonfa, and it has a really cool unsheath animation. Now, it's really nice seeing Monk have, you know, a slightly more distinct weapon type. These Bladed Tonfa are super cool. These ones are dyed black. This is just a 90 weapon that you can buy with hunt currency, sacks of nuts, over in radz maybe? I forget exactly where. I'll put it on screen. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of my favorites for sure. And yeah, I should probably be using these more often, to be honest. Okay, and one more honorable mention for Monk here, the Emperor's New Fist. There's nothing quite like punching them with your bare fists. And that's what this weapon lets you do. You can just buy these on the market board, and it covers up whatever weapon you're using if you cast the Glam, and you can be a true monk that's just punching and kicking away. Alright, time for Samurai, and this is kind of unintentionally turning into the Abyssos appreciation video, because here we've got the Abyssos Blade, and I don't know, these weapons are just too good not to include them all. The Samurai weapon is so good. Again, from P8S, Pandemonium, Savage, and tough to get, but again, it's worth learning this fight because you can see just how many great weapons are in there, and I've had to restrain myself from basically throwing them all in here, so starting off Samurai strong with that one. And again, here's another weapon for Samurai that we've been talking all about, Ravel Keeper's Blade from Qitana Ravel. Again, just a dungeon that had some really good glams in it. The sword is awesome. It's the hilt with like no guard on it looks really cool. The design on the blade looks really cool. The sheath looks cool. I don't know, everything about this is just simple and clean. You can't go wrong with this one, and if you're in there farming for it, again, it's just a level 75 dungeon, Qitana Ravel. There's a whole bunch of other really cool stuff in there too, so can't really go wrong trying to get this one. Samurai swords are actually pretty funny for me in this game because I find that I prefer the more simple, plain ones. This is the Baldur Katana, level 60 dungeon from Neverreap and Fractal Continuum. I think we already had another weapon from there. But this thing is just like your standard katana. It reminds me of a katana that I bought in my teenage years at the mall and chopped up some fruit with. That's a true story. And I don't know, it's just a clean, simple design. It's a very traditional looking katana with that wrap on the outside as well. Just another very good, clean choice if that's what you're into. Again, that's what I like when it comes to samurai swords, but maybe you find that you like the more flashy designs. Here's another fairly simple, clean samurai sword. You know, this one's got a little bit more pizzazz to it. This is the Diamond Katana. This is from the level 70 Stormblood raid, 08S Savage. And again, just a fairly straightforward katana. It's got those little diamond embellishments on the sheath and the hilt and around the guard as well, but it's still fairly straightforward. It's just a pretty basic katana, but with a little bit more, I don't know, glowy bits to it. Again, fairly easy to get if you get in there and do that fight unsynced. And again, just another clean one. Alright, I've had a whole bunch of pretty plain, boring samurai blades so far, so I figure I'll put in at least one flashy one. This is the Ultimate Katana of the Heavens from DSR, Dragon Song's Reprise Ultimate. One of the level 90 ultimates, and this thing's really flashy. It's kind of love it or hate it when it comes to the glow on these DSR weapons, but I personally really like it. It's kind of that orange, salmon, red color scheme that they've got going on. But yeah, I don't know. It does it for me with this one, and I think it works with this glam really well. This is my go-to samurai look these days. But some of those more simple swords have me reconsidering, actually. It's not always about the ultimate weapons, even though, you know, we work so hard to get them. Sometimes it's nice to use something a little more simple, more clean, a little more understated, but you can never go wrong with a good ultimate weapon on any job. Alright, here we are moving on to Ninja, and these are the Knives of Ascension. These are from P12S, the most recent Endwalker Savage raid, and I just love how these look. They don't really scream ninja to me. They've definitely got more of that like rogue look to them. Obviously with Viper, that's, you know, leaning more in that direction, but it's nice to have some of that on Ninja as well. I love the particle effects on these, and probably going to be one of the harder Savage weapons to get moving forward, even when we're able to unsync them. But, you know, we'll see. Maybe in Dawntrail, these Endwalker Savage fights aren't so bad, and it should be easier to farm some of this stuff. We can hope, but in the meantime, these are still some of my favorite ninja weapons. Alright, if those last weapons didn't scream ninja to you, these ones definitely will. These are the Augmented Shinobi Knives. I have them dyed black. They're normally like more of a pinkish purple color, but they keep that glow with the cherry blossoms. Yeah, just very traditional Japanese ninja-inspired weapons, and these are just the level 90 tome weapons, the most recent ones, so again, another weapon that you'll be able to pick up in Dawntrail for Poetics, and another weapon that you can upgrade with Criterion Savage materials. So they get a really cool cherry blossom themed glow to them, even more so than they already have. They already have this awesome pink glow. These are some of my favorites by far, just these massive knives and really traditional ninja look to them. Well, it's taken us this long to get to Asphodelos, but there are some really cool weapons from that raid, and P4S Asphodelos. These are the Asphodelos daggers for ninja, and they just have this really cool runic design with that glow. They dye really well. The glow does not change color. It's always that white glow, but I don't know. I really like the white coloring on them, and I think they fit with a lot of different glams, this one included. They don't exactly scream ninja to me, but they make for some nice simple daggers, and I really love this weapon. I have to get back in there and farm more from Asphodelos P4S. These are really cool weapons, actually. These are the augmented Thonos. I think that's how it's pronounced. You can just buy these on the market board. They're a crafted weapon with a material that comes from Hades Extreme. And, you know, you can go in there and farm that material yourself. Or if you've got some gil laying around, you can just pick them up anytime. There's a whole bunch of cool weapons from this line across all the different jobs, but I don't know, the glow on these is really incredible. The base weapons themselves, not a huge fan of. The coloring's kind of interesting, but it's really all about the glow for these, for me. They really stand out a lot, and pretty easy to come by if you've got some money, so another interesting ninja weapon for sure. Alright, one of my favorite ninja weapons, and probably one of my most used ninja weapons, are the Mighty Thunder Sparks. These are a level 50 weapon, and they've just got such a unique glow to them. These are the Ramu EX crafted weapons. You can probably find them on the market board for relatively little gil. But I don't know, just the sparking lightning effect, the sparks that come off the tips of the weapons are awesome. I used these for so long, and thematically on Ninja, they just fit with your Raijus and Raitons being lightning-based attacks. I thought these were a very good fit for that. I should pull these out again because they're just some of my favorites. They're such classics on Ninja. Alright, one more on Ninja for good measure. Again, another banger out of Qitana Ravel, level 75 dungeon. These are the Ravel Keeper's knives. I just think they're funny. I feel like I'm shanking somebody with 2 knives when I play this job. Or when I play with these weapons on this job. They're just interesting. They're more low profile than some of the big bulky weapons. Again, sometimes you just want something simple, clean. 2 little daggers go a long way on Ninja. Moving on to Bard, we've got another windswept weapon here from Endwalker's EX number 4. This is the windswept bow, and I don't know what it is about this thing. I just think it's really pretty. It's got some feathers, some grassy leaves, and it's just good looking. I really like the more nature-themed bows in this game. I just think it fits with the job well, being like an archer in the woods, hunting, all that sort of stuff. Makes me think of nature, I guess. And this one just does a really good job at it. I really like this weapon. I like the shape of it, and think it works well on this job. Another one of my favorite bows, maybe a slightly more elegant one, is the Eden Grace Harp Bow. Sheathed, it looks really pretty, and it has a very unique unsheath animation, where that little harp bit pops out, that glowing golden light. It's got a bit of a weird shape down at the bottom of the bow, but I don't know, I think it works. It's got those harp strings all over it, and some of these Eden Grace weapons are just some of the prettiest weapons in the game, in my opinion. This is O4S, not O, sorry, E4S from Eden Savage. Just a raid drop on this one, but should be pretty easy to get in there and unsync this fight these days, so not a hard weapon to get, you just need a couple friends. If you haven't figured out my tastes by now, this is one of the most simple bows in the game. This is the Nabaath bow from level 77 Malika's Well in Shadowbringers, the dungeon. This thing is about as simple and basic as you can get for a bow, but like I was just saying, I really like those, you know, kind of natural, nature-inspired bows. It just feels like a real bow that you're going to go out and shoot, I guess. I like the little feather ornament at the top as well, but sometimes just a more realistic-looking weapon goes a long way in this game where everything is so big and blown out of proportion. Some of these more straightforward weapons can be a nice touch once in a while. So in a very similar vein to that last one, here we have the Bow of the Wanderer. This is a level 60 bow that you can get at the PvP vendor at the Wolf's Den. Super simple, again, kind of nature inspired, with those like twisting branches. That's kind of what it looks like on this bow. And again, super easy to get, pretty early game if you're new, and you can go pick this one up. And it's one of my favorites. I used this bow pretty much the entire time I was leveling myself. Alright, and on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the Ultimate Omega bow from top, the Omega Protocol Ultimate, and this is possibly the biggest and flashiest bow in the entire game. This is what I've been using a lot lately. I kind of moved on from the simple ones, despite what I just said about loving them so much, but I don't know, there's something about this one that just grabs your attention just a little bit more. Obviously, this is from the hardest fight in the game, so again, not trying to do a ton of ultimate weapons, but throwing them in there just because some of them really do just look incredible. Next up for the Fizz ranged, we have Machinist, and this one's in here with no bias at all, totally not, because it has the exact same name as my character, being Vittoria. This is the Vittoria Dopovo Machinist weapon, and I think it's really nice, despite, you know, having that attachment to it, being the same name as my character. It's just a very interesting look for Machinist. I think it fits with this Glam. I'm not completely sold on the kind of porcelain look of it, but I don't know. It's very different from many Machinist weapons, and it's what I've been using a lot lately. It's the level 90 tome weapon, again, with the most recent tomes. You can get a glowy version from Criterion Savage, but that's very difficult again. I don't know, they just did such a good job with these recent tome weapons, making them all very unique, very distinguished from one another, and this is just another example of that makes my list of my favorite weapons. So here's another really interesting dungeon Machinist weapon, level 65 dungeon, Bardam's Metal, and this one has quite the funny name. It's called the Coming Storm. It's very edgy, but it has this really interesting, like, antique design with a big bayonet on the front. Just a really classic looking handgun, I guess. I don't know, I'm no gun expert, no antique gun expert, but I don't know, I just thought this one looks really interesting, and for a fairly early game Stormblood dungeon, it's a nice little pickup. Alright, this next one is fairly interesting as well. This is a level 90 actual relic weapon for Machinist. This is the first stage of the Endwalker relic, the Manderville Revolver. You just got to start your relic quests in Endwalker. You obviously have to do the entirety of the Manderville quest lines as well, but I don't know, I just think this thing is nice and simple, clean. I like the colors on it. It's got some really interesting design and detail to it. It's got an interesting barrel on it, and it's got that like red strap around it. I don't know, just another really clean one, but still very unique compared to many of the other Machinist guns. Another really neat one, another ultimate weapon, is the Ultimate Armageddon from T. This is basically a replica of a Heavensward relic weapon, so if you don't want to do ultimate, you can get a similar one without the glow from just doing normal relic weapons. But it's got a really cool Gatling style barrel that spins when you unsheath it. It's kind of hard to see with this, how bright the glow is, but yeah, I don't know, this thing's really pretty, and that Gatling style barrel is very unique compared to many of the other Machinist guns. This thing really stands out. Obviously that glow makes it pop, but the barrel design as well is really cool. So again, if you don't want to do ultimate, you can get the relic version of this at level 60. Otherwise, this is a level 80 ultimate weapon. Alright, one more honorable mention for Machinist, and that is the Mackay hand mortar. And just look how little it is. It's a funny little PvP weapon that you can get from the PvP vendor. I think it's a level 60 weapon, and yeah, I don't know, kind of more of a joke weapon than anything, but I don't know if you want to run around with a little pistol. Looks more like a little water gun than anything, but it's pretty funny, and you'll definitely get a kick out of it. Alright, on to Dancer, and I heard you, there were not enough Abyssos weapons in this video, so we got one more. It's not the last one either, but these are the Dancer abyssos chakrams, I believe they're called. Let me double check that. Yeah, abyssos chakrams from P8S. I just think they're really distinct from a lot of dancer weapons. You don't see too many like fiery, edgy dancer weapons, but here you go with abyssos. Just makes for like a cool like flame dancer kind of look. And I don't know, I love these weapons. Again, that was such a memorable raid tier for me as well, so a lot of these weapons have really stuck with me. Alright, here's another weapon that we haven't seen so far. These are the Blue Feather Doomsbanes. These come from Endwalker Extreme number 3, and they have a pretty cool, unique unsheath animation here, where those knives kind of fan out. You can see they're kind of like chakrams with some knives, blades around the edge. And yeah, I don't know. I just think they're simple and clean. They've got an interesting color to them, more of like a bronze color. But the blue feathers add a nice little touch. And I just think they're some simple, elegant, yet really interesting dancer weapons that stand out a lot for me. Here's another pretty interesting dancer weapon. These are the Lakeland Glaives. These come out of the level 71 Holminster Switch dungeon. And they've just got this like all black design to them. There's a bit of silver in there as well, reflecting off the light. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like a fish or a dragon or what, but I don't know. They've got this really cool like scaled texture to them, and the all black look sets them apart for dancer, where dancer weapons are usually very pretty and flashy. These ones are just very muted and interestingly textured, I guess. So that dungeon has a lot of cool stuff, and this is just one of them. Alright, and moving to the complete opposite end, we have these super flashy weapons now, the Phase Crown Tathlums. And they have these nice little butterfly fairy wings on them, and when you unsheath them, massive glow with big wings coming off the back, and even butterfly glow effects coming off the front, bubbles, you name it, rainbows. These are some of the most glowy, flashy weapons in this game, and that's a perfect fit for dancer, in my opinion. These things are beautiful, and you can just buy them on the market board. Again, you can also craft them with a material found in Titania Extreme, but buying them off the market board is a much quicker bet if you've got the gil to spare. These are some awesome weapons to have for sure. Alright, here we are, made it to the casters. This is Black Mage, and we're going to start out with one of my favorites, the Eden Grace Rod from O4S. It's got some really interesting colors and design to it. It's got little wings on it and a really unique unsheath animation where the wings kind of flap open. It's also got that golden halo on the top of it with that purple crystal. I think this thing just really pops and stands out quite a lot. It looks very angelic and, I don't know, maybe not the most fitting for a black mage, but I think it works, and it's one of the most unique black mage weapons out there. I just really like the wings. I like that purple and gold glow like on the top of the staff. This is just one of my favorite weapons for sure, and what I typically always use on my black mage. Here we have the level 90 crafted weapon, the classical long pole. You can craft it yourself, you can buy it on the market board, whatever you want to do. Shouldn't be too expensive these days, but I think it's really interesting the way the top of the staff kind of just floats there. The gold design is really interesting as well. Again, not something you would typically associate with black mage. This looks like maybe it would be a better white mage weapon even, but I don't know. I think it works. It's really classy looking, and just that floating bit on the top is really what sets this apart for me as one of my favorite black mage weapons. Here's another one that a lot of people might find kind of boring, but I really enjoy. This is the Cryptlurker's Rod. This is just the level 80 tome weapon that you can go buy with Poetics. And I don't know what it is about this thing. It's really simple, but it just gives it off that like wizard vibe. Like, it's just the traditional wand, you know what I mean? It's obviously just a big staff with a crystal ball on the top, and it's simple but effective, I think, and This one doesn't really get old for me. I used this a lot as I was leveling my black mage past 80, and it's always a fun one to have if you're going for that wizard look. So I don't think there's any more iconic black mage weapon than the ARR relic, the Stardust Rod. This is the Nexus version, one of the later steps in the relic weapon quest, and it's got this really interesting glow. This is only a level 50 weapon, so you could in theory get this pretty early on. Bit of a grind to get there with the Realm Reborn relic weapons. They are pretty tedious, but this one seems well worth it in my opinion. Again, just such an iconic black mage design in this game. Alright, time for Summoner. Not my favorite weapon type in the game, it's just a book, but there are some pretty cool ones, like this for example. This is the Diadocos Index, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, that's what it's called. And as you can see, it's see-through on one side, but not the other. This is just a level 90 crafted weapon that you can buy off the market board or make yourself, but it's got this cool little optical illusion, if you want to call it that, magicked book, I guess, where you can see through half of it, but not the other. So you can even see through this side and not the other half. One-way pages, I guess, but this is a fun one and super easy to get if you're level 90. Okay, last Abyssos weapon. I swear it's the final one. This is the Abyssea, the summoner weapon from PAS Abyssos. How could I not put this thing in here? Look at it. The pages are like literal hellfire, and it's got chains, and it's all black and charred. There's fire coming off the side of it. This is by far the coolest looking book in the game. In my opinion, Abyssos strikes again with the best weapons in the game. So, you heard it here first. Abyssos, best weapons. Okay, now to be fair, this one's a bit more interesting than just another book. This is the Heavensward relic, the Mimesis Lux. And as you can see, it's got giant dragon wings on it. If books don't interest you, maybe giant dragon wings do, and this one is quite something. It makes it pretty massive, honestly, and I don't know, this is a really cool design. It stands out a ton, and one of the cooler relic weapons in my opinion as well. Alright, moving swiftly right along to Red Mage. This is my favorite Red Mage weapon right now. It's super simple. It's the Diamond Tuck from the level 70 Stormblood raid. Which one was it again? 08S, I believe. Yeah, 08S. Savage, you can get in there and unsync it super easily these days, but again, just a very clean weapon with that big diamond in the focus, as well as on the end of the hilt. Another big diamond, just a super clean weapon, and I love this thing. It is super classy and not overdone. It's understated even with that massive diamond, and I don't know. This is just my favorite go-to Red Mage weapon these days. Here's another dungeon weapon that I really like, the level 71 Holminster Switch. This is the Lakeland Tuck, I believe. Lakeland Smallsword, sorry about that. Just an all-black sword, and I used this a lot leveling Red Mage. Again, it's pretty early at level 71. Early enough, I guess. It's clean, it's all black. You can't go wrong with an all-black weapon, in my opinion. And I don't know, it just works with a ton of different glams. It's a little bit edgy for Red Mage, but I don't know. Depending on what type of glam you're working with, I think this thing can be a really good fit. Here's another Red Mage weapon that I really like. It's the Lunar Envoy's Small Sword. Again, just a tome weapon for level 90, and it's got some really cool floating pieces. Bit of a more complex design to this one, but the part that I really like is the focus. Those two little crescent moons that just kind of float there behind you. When you're casting, I think that's a really nice little touch for the theme that these weapons go for, with the Lunar Envoy stuff having those two moons there. yeah, I don't know, just a very elegant looking, very complex design that I think suits Red Mage pretty well. Alright, now this is possibly one of my favorite Red Mage weapons of all time. This is the Augmented Agonia. Now this is another Hades EX crafted weapon with the material that drops from that fight. You can make this or just buy it off the market board. It's quite pricey, but well worth it in my opinion. The focus with that glow on it is absolutely massive compared to pretty much any other Red Mage weapon. The base weapon is not exactly my favorite design, but when it's unsheathed, you can hardly even see it beyond that glow. The glow is just so good that it makes up for it. I don't know, that white and purple look just really speaks to me, I guess. This is definitely a favorite Red Mage weapon for sure. Alright, we made it to the healers with White Mage. This is the Asphodelos cane. This is from P4S. I think we already had one weapon from here, and this one's really cool. It's just a nice, clean White Mage staff. I'm kind of partial to just these nice, simple staves, but this one's got this pretty interesting floating crystal on the top with some leaves and vines around it with those runes. And yeah, it just makes for a really interesting weapon. I'm hoping that this fight's not too bad to farm next expansion in Dawntrail, so we'll see. But for now, you know, I need to get back in there and get a couple more weapons myself, but this one's really cool. This next one for White Mage is from the level 71 dungeon Holminster Switch. This is the Lakeland Cane. I don't know what it is about this thing, but I really like it. It's kind of dead looking. It's just a bunch of like dried flowers, twigs, and berries, but I don't know. It's unique. You never see anybody using this, maybe for good reason. Maybe everybody thinks it's ugly, but I think it's kind of cool. It's just something very different for White Mage, and it fits the White Mage aesthetic. I guess they kind of bring life to things a little more than you'd expect with this, but I don't know. It's just some nice dried flowers and fits that nature-y, kind of more druid feel that White Mage can have if you lean into it. Alright, now this one is fairly similar to that last one, but kind of the opposite, where it's a little less dead looking. This is the Blades Mercy, the White Mage Shadowbringer's relic weapon, level 80, final step, and this thing is absolutely beautiful. It's got butterflies and, you know, much more alive looking branches and flowers and, you know, just a bunch of glowy pieces that I think these Shadowbringer relics did a really good job with, and this White Mage one in particular is really special, in my opinion. So I don't really play a whole lot of White Mage myself, so I don't have a ton of these weapons, but this is a good one. This is called the Madman's Whispering Rod, and this is an absolute joke weapon, but it's hilarious, and you can just buy this on the market board. I don't think it's terribly expensive, but it's one of the goofiest weapons in the game. This White Mage staff with a face on it that basically talks, and got a big flower on its head. This thing is great. Definitely go pick one up if you don't have it already. They're pretty cheap on the market board and definitely makes for a good laugh. Alright, moving on to Scholar with another Phase Crown weapon. This is the Phase Crown Index, a Titania crafted weapon with the material you get from that extreme fight. You can make this book. You can also just buy it on the market board. And I think this is a really solid fit for Scholar with the fairy wings, butterfly wings, whatever you want to call them. It's got an extremely similar aesthetic to Scholar's skills and abilities and their fairy summon. And it's just a beautiful book. There aren't a ton of awesome books in this game, in my opinion, so Scholar kind of suffers from the same thing as Summoner there, but this is the exception, and this is basically the only weapon I use these days on my Scholar. Alright, here we go with another recent tome weapon from the level 90 Endwalker tome weapons. This is the Fairy Fancy, and I like this one because it's not a book, it's a painting palette. with paintbrushes, different colors, and everything else. You can, again, in Dawntrail, just go buy this for poetics, which is going to be really nice. And you're able to upgrade it with the upgrade material from Alo Alo Island Savage, the Criterion Savage dungeon. And it gets shiny. There's a bunch of shiny paints inside of it, and it looks really nice. Again, that's really difficult to get that material, but if you manage, this is a awesome scholar book, even without it. Okay, I know I said it was the last Abyssos weapon, but I forgot about this one. I can't just not put this one in. Come on. It's the Call of the Abyss, the P8S scholar weapon, and just look at it. I'll keep this short. It's awesome. It's got that, like, crazy fire glyph inside of it. It's got, like, spines on the outside. This thing is about as metal as it gets for a book. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Now we're done with the Abyssos weapons, I promise. Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't really know this one existed until I started looking for this video, but look at this thing. This is the widest book I have ever seen in my life. This is the Tsukuyomi's Moonlit Codex, and it's got this giant crescent moon on the inside and these big fold-out sides to it. This thing is absolutely beautiful, and it's massive. I don't even know what to say about this thing. It's another crafted extreme weapon, so you can just go buy it on the market board. It shouldn't be too expensive, but I don't know. This one might be fairly pricey. I think these Tsukuyomi weapons are kind of expensive, so you might need to go farm that material in the level 70 extreme trial, but I think it's worth it. This one looks insane, and this is possibly the most unique looking scholar book out there, with just the shape of it and that big moon, and the glow is really nice too. So a very interesting Eastern feel for this one, but I don't know. It's really unique compared to many of the others. All right, Astro time. This is the top weapon for Astro. Omega Ultimate. I won't say too much about this one, just wanted to show it off because I have it and love this weapon. It's beautiful. It's got an awesome glow. The cards have that like silvery shine to them, kind of holographic looking. And yeah, just another ultimate that will skim over kind of quickly, but I don't know. I always love seeing this one pop up when I'm playing Astro. Here's another one. We've seen a few of these. This is the Windswept Torquatum. I think that's how that's pronounced. Oh man, some of these words are hard to say. But yeah, I don't know. This is another one from Endwalker EX4, and I just think it's really pretty. I think it's nice and symmetrical, and, you know, another weapon that you kind of have to lean into for the design of the entire outfit that you're putting together with it. But I think if you really tried, you could pull something off with it that's really nice. It kind of looks like a wreath, you know, like some kind of plant decoration. So if that's what you're going for with your style, then this can be a really good fit. Here's an Astro weapon that's actually super easy to get. This is a level 1 PvP Glam weapon that you can just go buy from the PvP vendor, I believe with trophy crystals. This is the Tropios Planisphere. And this is what I pretty much used the entire time I was leveling Astro. I love this thing. It's clean, it's simple. It's got a really unique shape to it. Kind of looks like an eye. And I don't know, it's just a nice classy Astro weapon that's very easily obtainable early game. Alright, last one for Astro. This one is one of the earlier steps of the Shadowbringer's relic. This is called the Solstice Recollection. It looks beautiful when sheathed. It's in this nice ring, it has a bunch of different circles that are kind of intertwined. And then when you unsheath it, it has this really nice glow to it where it looks like all those rings kind of expand outwards. It looks crazy. There's kind of like a planet floating around in there as well. Fairly easy to get if you're comfortable doing the relic weapons in Shadowbringers, but, you know, level 80 weapon, and you don't even have to complete the entirety of the relic weapon since it's only one of the earlier steps. Last but not least, we've got Sage, and Sage has some of my favorite weapons, although similar to Reaper, they're a newer job, so they don't have a ton, but they do have a lot of good ones. My favorite that I always use are the Wings of Ascension. Now, these are the weapons from P12S, the most recent Savage raid in Endwalker. I think a lot of the Sage weapons look best when they're on your back, but you can sheath them too, or unsheath them, and they look just as good. These have that nice little particle effect to them as well around the crystals. Just a super classy Sage weapon that looks just as good when you have it sheathed. So these are another cool set of Sage weapons. These are the Blue Feather Wings from EX number 3 in Endwalker. Kind of a similar vibe to the last ones, but just a couple blue feathers on there that, you know, if you're trying to do some bird RP, I guess these are a good fit. But I don't know, they're just really pretty, and sheathed, they look a little less good, but that's kind of the case for a lot of these Sage weapons. They look better on your back half the time, but I don't know, just really cool, classy design, and I like them. Here's another really cool Sage weapon. These are the Palika Pendulums. These are from Vanaspati, the level 85 dungeon, and they look like peacock feathers. They're just they kind of look like they're made out of glass or something, but I don't know. This is one of the more interesting, unique Sage weapons out there. Unsheathed, they look pretty good as well. Just little floating feathers around you. Another one that might take a very specific glam to make them work, but I don't know. They really stand out when you see them. You don't see these too often, probably because they are such a specific look, but I think they work really well and could make for a really interesting look. Here's another really good one on Sage. These are the Isne Fees. I believe that's how it's said. These are just the level 90 tome weapons. Yet again, the most recent tome weapons, going to be purchasable in Dawntrail with Poetics. So we'll be able to farm out every last weapon for all these great tome weapons. There's so many good ones. They've been very popular on this list as well. But the augmented version of these are actually dyeable. They dye really well. And again, just like the other recent tome weapons, you can upgrade them into fancy glowy versions if you do Criterion Savage. So just a really cool fairy wing Sage weapon. Alright, let's get one more Sage weapon for good measure. There's just so many good ones. These are the Edenmorn Pendulums from E12S Savage. I just like how these look. They have a nice sleek appearance. They're very sharp looking. The details and design on them are nice. It's nice to see that they went back and added these after the release of Sage. We can only hope they do the same with Viper and Pictomancer, adding, you know, old weapons to the old raid tiers. Maybe we'll get some nice Abyssos weapons for the new jobs to make me happy. But yeah, I don't know. These things just look like they could poke an eye out. But yeah, that's it for Sage pretty much. Alright, well, that's going to do it for this video. Those were all the weapons that are just some of my favorites. There's a ton more. There's so many weapons, so much gear in this game. I can't even begin to comprehend it all and try to put it into a video. So this was just a little taste of what I like for each job. There's a ton more out there. Let me know in the comments what your favorite weapon glams are in this game. Maybe one or two. You don't need to list every job like I did. But yeah, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Even you just watching these videos helps out. We're also going to be streaming on Twitch. We got Dawntrail coming up next week, so I'm going to be streaming a whole lot. There's a link in the description to the Twitch channel. If you're interested in checking that out, be sure to drop a follow and come hang out for the new expansion, because that's coming up real quick. So I'm sure everybody's really excited as much as I am. And yeah, I don't know. I've just been trying to get some glams in order, so I'm looking good going into the new expansion. So yeah, that'll do it for me in this video. Hopefully you had a good time watching this. Hopefully it gave you some ideas, and, you know, have a good night, have a good evening, whatever time it is when you're watching this. I'll catch you in the next video. I don't know if I'll be doing one next week with the launch of Dawntrail, but there will be plenty of stuff coming out soon after. So look forward to it. I'll catch you next time. Have a good one, and peace.